Imagine having no boss, no alarm clock, and all the time in the world doing exactly what you want. Sounds like the perfect scenario for early retirement, right? But there's a catch. Early retirement isn't always as it seems. And in this video, I'm going to reveal the hidden truths and unexpected challenges of retiring early, specifically from people that I know who've retired early for several years, providing you with real insights that go beyond the typical retirement advice. And if you're thinking about leaving your 9 to 5 behind, or you're just curious about why or what early retirement really involves, this video is for you. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Jeff Anzalone, periodontist on a mission to get you to the point that work is optional. I've put together a free passive income guide, which you can grab. I'll put the link below this video. All right, now, let's look at what no one tells you about early retirement in three main areas, okay? The first one is this. Number one, we're going to look at the financial realities of retiring early. Now, you probably know that reaching financial independence requires diligent saving and investing. However, once you step into retirement, the financial landscape completely changes. So the goal, actually your goal is going to shift. So think about it. You're working right now, more than likely. So right now you're focused on this wealth accumulation, right? You're trying to grow that big stockpile, trying to grow that big 401k or whatever. So the goals shift from wealth accumulation to wealth preservation and eventually utilization. So it's very important to understand this mindset shift that's going to occur. Well, it actually has to occur. Now, when you're working, again, your focus is typically on growing your assets or things that put money into your pocket. This might mean maxing out your 401k contributions, or perhaps my favorite, purchasing real estate. But when you retire, your focus shifts from building to sustaining. How am I going to sustain all this that I've built, right? Now, this transition can be psychologically challenging because it involves moving from an active earning phase to where you're going online and maybe you're looking at Vanguard or Fidelity or whatever. You're constantly adding to your accounts or properties or whatever. You're constantly looking at that. Your balances are growing each day, so that you have to go from that phase to a withdrawal phase where you might see them plateau or even start to decrease. So let's talk about in this same area, my favorite investment that I had just mentioned a little bit earlier, and that is real estate. All right. Now, let's talk about how real estate actually fits into this sort of financial picture, because it can be a really powerful tool, especially if you decide to retire early. Unlike more of the volatile stock investments out there, real estate can do something like providing predictable income through, well, what do people do? They pay you rent through rentals, right? And how is this done? It's done through cash flow. When you're investing in real estate, you're building up cash flow, and the steady cash flow is essential whenever you're trying to figure out how are you going to cover your day-to-day expenses, what you're doing now, hopefully you're doing now with your day-to-day job. So how are you going to cover those expenses? Well, the cash flow, as you're acquiring more properties, building up rentals, building up cash flow, this can help do that. And it's also going to help to mitigate the need to withdraw. We talked about over here, you have a 401k, right? You have your 401k and you're going to have to draw down the money. So you see your balances going from plus to negative. So you're watching that always in the back of your mind going, oh gosh, am I going to run out of money? But if you have something like real estate, again, it can change the way you look at it. So, again, this steady cash flow, hopefully you'll build up enough if you do real estate to cover these day-to-day expenses. And they're going to help you from then having to go all in on taking from a 401k or whatever else, which, as you know, anything 401k, IRA, anything like that, it's subject to what? The market going up and down, the fluctuation. And something else about real estate. What else does real estate do over time? Does it go up? Does it go down? It goes up, right? So in the long run, real estate goes up. It often appreciates over time. So you have appreciation. More than likely, if you're like me and you've sold a home that you lived in, you know that you're able to sell it more than what you paid for it, right? So again, you're investing in something that's going up over time. Again, it's providing a potential hedge against inflation, which is huge if you're planning on retiring early. As again, your purchasing power as you get into retirement, it must last for an extended period of time, right? It's got to last longer because you're what? You're retiring earlier than the traditional retirement age. Additionally, investing in real estate also offers, and I've talked about this numerous times on my video, tax advantages. So we have cash flow, number one. Number two, we have appreciation. Number three, we have tax advantages. Now, these tax advantages can be very beneficial in retirement. So for instance, rental income is often favorably taxed compared to other types of income, which you can actually leverage deductions called depreciation, right? So you have your tax advantages. The main one is depreciation to further reduce your tax burden. Now, when you stop trading time for money, okay, you're in your job right now, you're more than likely trading time for money. If you're a dentist, doctor, whatever, you're trading time, treating patients. When you stop doing this and you retire early, you want to focus on having income coming in that's as close to tax-free as possible. That would be a great goal, right? Unfortunately, we go through most of our careers only making active income or earned income, which is what? It's the highest taxed income out there. So if you want to retire early, having multiple income streams coming in from passive income, like from real estate or cash flowing businesses, things like that, those things are going to be taxed the lowest. That's going to be the key. Now, if you're like most people who have to rely, again, over here on the stock market, on a 401k, then you have to be thinking about over here, the safe withdrawal rate. How much can you take out without running out of money? And traditionally, advisors, they've traditionally recommended, and you've probably heard of the 4% rule. They said, well, you can take out 4% a year and you'll be good. But recent market volatility, and what are people doing? They're living longer. So you have these longer life expectancies, might call for a more conservative approach. Adjusting this withdrawal rate based on current market conditions and your personal expense profile is going to be important, so that what? You don't outlive your savings. You don't run out of money. All right, to sum up this first part of what nobody tells you about retiring early, transitioning to retirement requires you've got to go and you have to have a comprehensive review of your financial strategy. And again, with the focus on generating sustainable income while preserving your capital. Real estate investments plays a key role. It does for me, does for a lot of people that we're teaching in this equation, because it offers both income and potential growth, which again are going to be essential for maintaining a comfortable early retirement. All right, that's number one. Number two, so the next part is something that really we don't really talk about much at all, especially right now if we're working full time. That is on basically how you manage your time and adapting your lifestyle as you make the transition. So we'll just put this, we'll put time management, and then we'll go with lifestyle, specifically lifestyle considerations when you're retired. Now, pay attention because this can be as challenging, this can be just as challenging as this financial approach, financial aspects, if not more. Now, early retirement is going to provide you with vast amount of free time, time that was what? It was previously occupied by work and whatever your career-related activities were. Maybe you had to go to work, but then you had meetings or you had to go out and travel for this and that. Well, you had all of this taking up your time. So now if you retire early, how you handle this newfound freedom is going to be very important if you want to enjoy your new retirement. Now, I know personally several dentists that they've retired, and they retired a little bit early, 50s and 60s, some of them even in their 70s. And guess what? It didn't take them long, even a year or less, to go back to work, start practicing again. Why? Because they didn't know this. They didn't know how to manage their time. They'd spent their entire life fixing teeth, and along the way, they've neglected relationships to get to the point when they finally want to quit, and they quit, and they're sitting at home twiddling their thumbs, they were freaking bored out of their minds. Now, you see, initially the idea of having an open schedule might seem like just the best thing in the world, okay? No more meetings, no more deadlines, no more patience. If you're self-employed, no more dealing with employees or work stress or anything like that. You might think of just going out and filling your days with hobbies and traveling all over the world and this and that, all these things that you've been postponing while you've been working. However, just like my dentist friends, this can wear off surprisingly quickly, because without this, when you get into retirement, without a structured schedule, many are going to find themselves feeling completely bored out of their mind. This is where the importance of actually redefining your purpose comes into play. Here's a perfect example. I'm nearing 50 as of this video. If I was like most dentists, I'd think about working until I was, when I got out of my residency, I was thinking I was doing the Dave Ramsey approach. I'm going to work until I'm 65 or 70, invest in a 401k, live happily ever after. All right. So if I was like most dentists approaching retirement, I'm thinking, okay, I'm almost 50 now. I'm going to work till I'm about 70. I've got 20 more years of working if my back and neck and shoulders can take it. And then hope when I do get to the point when I'm 70, I'm healthy enough to still want to and still to be able to do the things that I enjoy doing today, like traveling, working out, playing tennis, throwing the ball with my kids, staying active. And years ago, I actually got into that was the whole point of how I got into real estate investing. Years ago, with being active, snow skiing with my family, and I injured my wrist. And when I fell and injured my wrist, that was like my wake-up call, because I don't know about you, but it's kind of hard to treat patients without your hands. It's hard to do it with your feet, right? It's tough. And that was my wake-up call going, well, Jeff, if you can't work and bring in money because you're the sole provider, how are you going to provide for your family? What are you going to do? And that was my wake-up call. And I realized that I didn't have anything else like real estate or cash flowing businesses to provide what wealthy people have: multiple income streams. But more importantly, those multiple income streams are taxed very, very low, which is everything that we're talking about. That whole scenario led me to learn a new skill, and that was how to start a blog. I started a blog, debtfreedoctor.com, to teach doctors, dentists, high income professionals what I was learning from my experience. And that turned into this, what you're doing right now. You're watching me on YouTube. Again, if all that wouldn't have happened, then I would have never started a blog. I would never start a YouTube channel, never started Instagram, or doing all these other things, or financial coaching for dentists and doctors. Okay. That whole thing led me to eventually what we just talked about: find another purpose. Instead of just treating patients and doing that until I'm 70, now I found another purpose. I want to teach others, like I'm teaching you, how to get to the point where work is optional. That is going under the lifestyle part. Okay. Personally, I now have something that I am retiring to, instead of just retiring and going, what am I going to do? Which is so important to prevent you from just being bored sick during retirement. Now you may be asking yourself, well, Jeff, how do I do that? How do I find a purpose? Well, to start a smooth transition, you're going to have to do a little kind of reflect on yourself. Consider basically, what are your passions? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? What are some of the things that you want to explore? You have them in the back of your mind. You want to explore, but you know what? You never had time for it. Now's the time to be thinking about it. And because early retirement is going to be your opportunity to basically dive into all these interests that you've had, but again, you've had to put off because you've been working full time. Whether it's maybe you want to learn how to learn a new language, learn how to play an instrument, maybe you want to write a book, or community service, or any type of activity that's going to provide structure, but again, more importantly, provide you with satisfaction. Volunteering, anything like that. Something else to consider: this could be an excellent time to actually leverage your professional skills. Think about what you're doing now. Could you leverage what you know now online or in person, teaching people in basically a less demanding capacity? You just kind of do it on your own time, because many retirees, they actually find joy in mentoring other people, especially younger people, in their former industry. Now, I noticed this trend when I was a dental student. Many of our professors, they were previously in private practice, and then they transitioned into teaching other dental students and residents what to do and also what not to do. And by doing this, it's going to allow you to maintain a professional identity and to continue to contribute meaningfully, again, without having all these pressures of full-time retirement. And last but not least, number 3, when you get into retirement, and this is the part to consider, what no one is really going to be talking about early retirement. It has to do with this: your social interaction with other people. Okay. Now, your work likely provides, or if you're retired, it provided a significant portion of your social engagements. And without it, there's a risk of isolation. During early retirement, make sure that you're focusing on developing new relationships with people who actually share the same schedules and the interests as you as well. You can consider joining clubs, groups, associations that are aligning with your hobbies, your interests, your new ventures, whatever, because these can provide not only social fulfillment, but also you have like a sense of community and belonging. If there's not a whole lot out there, create your own. That's actually what I'm doing right now online. I'm creating my own community. You have a lot of time to do these things now. Now, you can't say I don't have any time I don't have time for that anymore, because you're retired. Now look, adapting to all of these changes, it doesn't happen overnight. It's going to require a proactive approach. So start by making sort of a loose schedule for your weeks, okay? Plan your activities in a way that actually balances leisure, social interaction, and being productive. Leisure, you want to enjoy yourself, you want to enjoy that early retirement. Again, having social interaction with people. You don't want to just isolate yourself and game all day and never come out of the house. And then you want to be productive. You want to still contribute to society. Okay, you still want to have that identity. It's all about finding a new schedule for your life. I've known doctors and dentists. A lot of times they don't want to retire because they think what they do, that's their identity. And if they ever retire, they're going to lose their identity. But again, they can still be social, get out there, contribute to society, teach and mentor other people. Once you start doing this, you may find that be much more fulfilling than what you're doing now, trading time for money. So plan your activities in a way that really balances those three things. It's all about finding now you have to have a new schedule for your life, but this schedule is not determined by somebody else, it's determined by you. You have to stay energized. You have to stay engaged. All right. So now that I've discussed some of the things that people don't tell us about early retirement, what I want you to do now is check out this video over here about why waiting to retire could be your biggest regret. Check it out over here.